Anyhow, Margie's, I think, so we definitely have our typical quorum, okay? 6 of us.
And we have Nicole now, which is great.
Yes, it is great. And Nicole, if you haven't already gathered, we're just thrilled to have someone willing to step into the breach there. And ultimately, our goal, of course, is to get those bills paid, right? I think particularly, of course, because we have one of our folks who are in debt to is kind of going out of business, and it would be nice to have a payment going out the door there to make us all feel better.
Was that Manchester?
That's Manchester Hardware, yeah. So
yeah, that's too bad.
If we can accomplish getting the bills paid by the end of our season, then look, the rest we can pick up. We've got money. We don't have any immediate expenditures. Anyway, I don't mean to get too far into that. The way we've been doing our meetings, Nicole, is that we use it's a standard agenda. So if you go in, well, anyone who goes into our Google site, whatever, in the docs is a standard agenda, and it always starts, so it's always going to be the same. The only thing that it will be new is recurring and new business. So it starts off, for instance, with public comment period. Every Easthampton public meeting, and we're a public body, has to give the public an opportunity to say something if they want something to say. Now, in all fairness to the public here, they can't access that, can they? So had we been able to go under the city one, in theory, anyone could have gone in and said something. We haven't had a public comment since I've been on this garden committee.
Yeah, I'm trying to, because I've been on it since the
yes, and so it's okay.
I think one of the public comments might have been when you came by before you were on the committee.
Well, even then,
Margie's in the tropics. What's going on?
Yeah, let's go swimming.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
So
you're welcome.
So to be clear, the
little button on the computer.
Okay, the public comments actually are for outside committee members. So even if we had a gardener who just wanted to say something at the outset, that actually isn't a public comment. That is just something that they're a committee member, and they can chime in once we get to business. So in any event, I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:50. We have a quorum of 6 individuals. Myself, Frank Johnson, Margie Phillips, Mark Leonis, Stella Cotton, and Nicola Calero. The meeting is being taped, so I will forward that copy to the city whenever I can get it, if I do. And then from there, we typically will start with committee reports. I mean, that's the large part of that. And before we start with that, we normally will have the minutes accepted. So I did generate minutes, and I believe I attached it previously. Did people see it? I can go out and come in and get and post it if people want to.
Where would I look for those? You said something about a site. Is that the Easthampton City?
Yes, that's our Google. But in any event, I always make a copy into my Word docs because
I don't have access to whatever site you're talking about.
Yes.
Can you tell me where to find that?
Okay. Hold on a second, Nicole. Well, Margie, do you have the link? I mean, I'm looking for a couple of links here. Do you have that link handy, Margie? It's our Easthampton Gardens link.
Yeah, do you have Google, Nicole? So you go up to the letter on the upper right-hand corner and click on that, and it says Add Account. You don't know what I'm talking about? If you go into your Google email, there's up in the upper right-hand corner, there should be a letter. Mine has M for Margie. When you click on that, you can.
You want me to open my accounts and open?
You go to your email.
No, I'm in my Gmail.
Okay,
so you click on my account and add another account.
Yes. So you would go to Easthampton Garden @gmail.com. And you would add that, and then you need the password.
Hang on one second. I'm typing in the address right now, adding the account. And now it's asking me for the password.
Payson Ave, Payson.
Is any of that capitalized?
Doesn't, no. I guess it matters the passwords.
It does sometimes. I'm linked and loaded. Thank you.
Oh, and then up on the right-hand corner, there's a box of dots.
That's the drive.
Yeah, you can go in there and go to the drive and post stuff and check stuff out.
And there's a doc in there that just says like meeting minutes.
Yeah, and I just put it up. Here.
Okay.
And so to make it simple, what I do is that we create this agenda, this is the agenda that was publicly posted, and it's always the same. And that you'll see there'll be notes under each agenda item for what we discussed last time.
Super. Thank you.
And so that's pretty much it. Not detailed minutes rather, but in any event, we are bound to formally adopt them. So if people want to quickly review, and only those, incidentally, who were present last time. So Stella, I don't think you were, right? You had a conflict. So you can't vote on this. Only those who were present can vote to adopt the minutes.
Can you scroll down?
Yeah, hold on a
Oh,
second.
Stephen, I think you have to.
Yeah, hold on a sec. Ah, come on.
Okay, I approve. Or I motion to approve.
Okay, Frank has moved.
Oh, I see. I was looking in the drive for these. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that you had them on a Word doc. Did you know that you can actually just take minutes directly into Drive?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to learn that. But the problem I've had with that, Nicole, is that when because I keep a separate file for all our stuff. In other words, if I did exactly what you just said, then it doesn't come out, it doesn't jive ultimately with a Word document. If I wanted to pull it, it comes out with a different type of file that is unintelligible. So I'm sure there's another way of doing this. I don't doubt it, but this is what I've done just so I can always pull it from my hard drive. So this is the copy, but this is in the drive, okay, and I can pluck it out as I've just done. Okay, so Frank has moved adoption. Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second it.
Okay, Margie seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None? Okay, great. Okay, the minutes are adopted. Well, that's good. We normally then, Nicole, would go right to the treasurer's report because it usually will inform a lot of the subsequent decision. It's always good to know kind of where we stand on that before we go on to like stuff like adopting things. So this is where we typically would, and it's always nice, of course, to have a written report. It can be as simple as past balance, present balance as of like the date of the meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
And to be clear about the balance is that we might want to differentiate between, as you know, we've got an account with the city, okay? So you'd be reporting on what the city says our account numbers are. And the only thing the city doesn't know is our petty cash account, because that's what we hold. So what you would be reporting are really the two accounts, the main account held with the city, and our petty cash, which really does, I mean, it does fluctuate, but it doesn't really differentiate. So that's what we would do here. And it's always nice if, to have a written report that we can keep in the drive and I can keep as a separate thing. Anyway, it's as simple as that in terms of the report.
Thank you.
Here, why don't we just do this? Why don't we just, assuming that you don't have anything per se written, why don't you can just give a report that just about what your activities have been since your appointment and kind of where you are on that, and we'll adopt that as the treasurer's report.
That was my intention.
Go for it.
So, unfortunately, I have not yet received the binder or the petty cash or met with Town Hall to learn the process for paying invoices. I apologize. My intention was to do that before my move, and then instead it has not happened. And I would love to show you my living room, but nobody needs to see the box fort that I am currently living in. So my plan is to reschedule my meeting with Laura to receive the binder and the petty cash, to reschedule my plan to meet with Barbara so I can learn about the invoice payment system, and then move forward from there. Okay. I did have another thought that I wanted to run by you, and I understand why you've maintained a physical binder, but because it is easier for everyone to access everything on the shared Google Drive, I was wondering what people would think about me scanning the items from the binder and placing them into the Google Drive.
I'm good with that.
I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Oh, it's so much better. We don't really want or need a physical binder.
I agree.
And plus, too, if there were ever any issues with an invoice or anything, the city had any issues, you can just attach and send it, and just, because with everything remote now, but even in a world where we didn't have to be remote, it's just a good idea.
Yeah, so Nicole, I mean, I know that's a lot of scanning perhaps, but that would be terrific. That'd be a great start.
All right, and I apologize for not when we first met, and I said that I would make it a small goal to receive one invoice and learn the process, and that just didn't happen. So I will pick it up now that I've completed my move.
Well, the good news is that had you will not say, oh, by the way, I did all that stuff, but I lost everything in the move.
Right.
No, this is no loss of the move. So that's
fire.
So that's good. Yeah, fire or whatever. So that's good. And then, anyway, even though what I said about the simplicity of the report, the only other thing that would be reported would be invoices paid, right? As part of the report, and permission then if we wanted to encumber monies to purchase something, if made out a purchase order or whatever, we would actually take a vote in adopting your report that we are encumbering monies for this purpose. We usually will have that as a discussion item, but I think that you will, in terms of the paperwork, you'll need to indicate that there was an approval by the executive committee for a certain expenditure.
Okay.
Right, that's different than paying an invoice,
I understand the difference.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. So they're two separate things in that regard. Okay, so in short, our balance should be exactly what it was last time. Right, and so in theory, we have just a hair under $5,000 in the city account, and cash, the petty cash, which Laura has been holding, I think is maybe $200 or $300. And the only thing that is in theory due out of that account is that we had agreed to the gardeners who were putting together the pollinator garden that we would reimburse them for expenses up to $80. So that's the only obligation out of that cash account, that cash account.
Have they submitted any invoices?
I
I
haven't,
was just about to ask that.
yeah. Margie, have you heard of it? Has anyone?
Margie, please.
Yeah. Well, there was work that was done, so it was tilled. So I suspect,
I don't think.
what's that?
I don't think she bought anything yet, but she did. I don't know what happened with the person who does the tilling.
Yeah. So I think there may have been monies, in theory, expended just for getting it tilled, because it looks good.
Yeah.
So it's possible that there's something that we'll need to reimburse. No problem, because we have it all. It's just a question of them telling us and us getting the monies to them.
Should we be soliciting those invoices to try to keep the ball rolling? What do you think?
Well, I think that the better the quicker we can kind of take care of that, and rather than it kind of lingering on, the better.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about.
And plus, I would think that's the way they would want it too. Why would they want to wait?
Yeah, they want their money, I assume.
Yeah.
Well, I think really, Stephen, you mentioned Manchester. The very first people we need to pay is Broadbrook,
Yeah. Okay.
because they're going to need to flush the water system before winter.
Okay.
They have to flush that system and get the water out of it, so none of the pipes crack.
Okay.
So they'll blow that water out. But I know we owe them money, and they made.
Yeah, I don't blame them.
Yeah.
So,
Now that Nicole's on board, I think this will all fall into place.
yeah. Well, we all agree, and it's just a question of, pulling it together, but getting those past due bills out. All the money's there. It would be great. One fell swoop. Just
Yep.
get them out.
Yep.
The name of the company is Broadbrook?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Broadbrook.
They weren't particularly great about getting their side of paperwork together, Nicole. That was part of the problem. Other like Manchester and some others, regular businesses, they've been much better. I mean, they invoice us monthly.
Yeah, I know the Flurry Performance.
And Flurry.
They're good. I mean, I got the invoice from them, so
Yeah.
and gave it to Laura. So
Okay, so typically we lead with the treasurer's report, and then we move to operations. It's kind of field operations, and that's Frank. Now, the last thing we discussed at our last meeting, Frank, was weed inspection time.
yeah, which I didn't do.
Okay.
So, but I'm gonna need to do one, and we're actually gonna have to, button up the garden here soon. So, I'll end up. You shouldn't think. Yeah, good. I can write something up. Marge, would you mind sending out an email? I'll write it up and forward it to you, because folks just got to get their plots cleaned up. But we're gonna have to, we need to look at our calendar. We should have a work weekend. I got my big desk blotter calendar here. My guess is it's gonna be the 26th. Oh, sorry, wrong one. The 24th would probably be the weekend where we'll put up the hoses and all that other stuff. We don't have to worry about the tools in the shed and all that. It's a pretty easy cleanup, but people need to get their gardens cleaned up. And I've already started making a list of things that need to go in the email. One thing people have been doing is some people have already cleaned their gardens, and they're just throwing all their stuff at the edge of where these compost areas are, which are now turning into large growing mounds. So we need to talk to people about actually throwing their stuff into the compost areas. I may actually talk to Russell up at the garden, because a couple of years ago we took down all of those the posts, the metal posts that were in the wiring, and then Mehdi, who had a garden in C4, I think, he knew how to drive a Bobcat, but I think Russell might actually come and do an in-kind niceness for us. And then he just came in and pushed everything back. to where it was supposed to be with the Bobcat. And I don't know. I'll cook Russell a big pot of beans. He likes my beans. Maybe he'll be happy with that. Give him some gas money from the petty cash. But yeah, that's another thing. But really right now, there's gardens that we know will have to be worked on. I know Mia's. I've done some weeding in hers. The one next to me was abandoned, C7. So, and really I want to make sure that person does not get a plot next year. So, because this is the third year in a row this has happened. So, I even paid Bob to till that one, I think, last year. So I'll mow. I mowed up there along the road and in the main corridor again. So I will probably mow any plots that we know are not going to be worked. In the next couple of weeks, I can mow. I'm actually going to take a little time off from work because I'm so screened out. And I'm not necessarily going anywhere. If I'm outside and doing something, I'll be happy. It's such a sad vacation. But main thing is to get people to get working on their plots now.
So you're going to have those plots that are abandoned tilled, Frank? Is that the plan?
I don't know, man. We spent, even in the one up on the one that we had tilled at the top, only half of that one got covered and it's already overgrown again on the other half. So, I think if I can mow them low. And if need be, I could go back again if they start growing again before winter and really knock them down. And then if somebody takes them in the spring, they can pay to have them tilled. I mean, anybody else can chime in. It's just that's...
Well, it seems a little odd that people have to take responsibility to get them tilled. Most of us didn't have to do that when we got our plots, so I don't know.
Yeah, and I understand, and we can revisit that, but there'd be no point in tilling them now before winter.
Okay.
Yeah, that's something we could revisit in the spring.
C6 will need attention as well, although you guys mowed, but it's growing back a bit. So
yeah, C6, yeah, next year, yeah. So that 6 and 7 there, and C. Right. Those both need to be mowed. Okay. Other than that, we just got to think about the work weekend. But I'm gonna go ahead. I'll write up an email and then I'll put some bullets in there for things that people to think about. And right now, there's nothing else off the top of my head.
Okay. The outreach report is both internal outreach within the garden. So Margie, you update us on that, and then the external part is Stella. Margie, you want to start off?
Margie, not Margie.
Yes, Margie.
Am I hearing you
yes.
right?
Yeah.
New Englanders say Margie. New Yorkers say Margie. I'm from New York.
Okay. I figured hard G for New Yorkers. Okay.
Yeah.
They're soft.
Well, I have hardly been doing anything. There's a interested gardeners list with, I think, 3 people on it.
Yes.
And that's all. There's not much happening.
Well, right. So what I was thinking you might say is that we did, of the 3, 1 was a very recent one, right? I saw that you responded to that individual.
I responded to all of them. I haven't heard back from all of them, but I put their names on there. I might have heard back. I have to check. I don't know how to do that while I'm on this Zoom meeting. I'm afraid I'm going to lose you all.
Well, it's okay because at least all of them, but particularly the last one simply said, I'm talking about next year. So next year is
for next year. And this woman in C, I think it's C6, she's on the list for next year because she was ill and she decided she should give the garden up and go on the list for next year.
Okay. Well,
Gabriella and C7, I sent her emails and I've never heard anything back from her.
yeah. Well, there clearly will be some plots like C7 that are going to be available. So we should be able to accommodate all the people who have contacted us so far.
Yeah, because Mia's plot is open too.
Yeah.
And I think there's another one. Isn't it A8? Did someone called Tara ever go out there and do anything? I don't remember.
And Laura's too.
Oh yeah, Laura's is open too.
A D4.
Yep.
So this actually segues into the other part of our outreach report, our external. Stella, and my thinking about the segue is that as we kind of wrap up this garden year and head into the next, we really do want to be able to get, start off the next year with gardeners who are ready, willing, and able to garden their plots. So it might mean that we need to do more outreach to do that.
Yeah, I can definitely post something. I had somebody reach out to me on Facebook to ask to get added to the list, and I saw, Margie, that you added her to the bottom. Thank you for adding that. And yeah, I can post something about if anybody is interested in getting on the wait list for gardens next year, to contact us and we can get them added.
Yeah, that'd be good. Is there anything else about our sites and stuff like that? How many hits are we getting?
Maybe 3 or 4 hits. We're a pretty popular bunch. Some likes on the donation garden photos, but it's been pretty quiet.
Actually, is there anything else you want to report?
No, not unless there's anything else we want to post specifically other than about the wait list.
Does the Facebook page, I understand that the email is usually what's used to communicate things like an upcoming work day. Does that information ever get posted on the Facebook page as well?
I don't post anything on Facebook.
No, we haven't really had anything so far this year that's been with COVID and everything. If we actually had something going on, I would have posted it there, but none of the crucial stuff is posted there. It's mostly just been some photos.
Okay. Well, you mentioned the donation garden, which is certainly something that we can periodically report on. I've been keeping tallies. I reported last time that there seemed to be a slight improvement. We had a couple of half-decent weeks in terms of our donation to the community center, but it has slackened again. In fact, this past Monday may have been, in fact, it was our worst.
Well, there's so much dead stuff.
I know, which is the most tragic thing because there's stuff all over the place there.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I've lived up here since 1988, and that was one of the earlier killing frosts that I've experienced. And then insult to injury, it turned into summer right after that. And I saved my okra, but probably just for a worse death later. I probably should have just let it go. But it's got new growth coming out. I mean, if we don't get that cold again, because this is supposed to be the kind I have as kind of a cold hardy, but yeah, it was just terrible. That was mean, man. I saved my pepper plants. Everything else, I just, I sacrificed those children. But that was brutal, man. That was just not cool. I had 4 nights in a row, basically. So if you got lucky one night or 2 nights, the third night.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate. Well, so usually we end the year when the squash come in, you know, all the kind of root vegetables and the squash usually does help our numbers because that's all that stuff is heavy. We get past the greens and we get into the squashes and hard vegetables, and that usually is good weight. But I don't know. And by the way, Mark, I don't know if you want to report further, but you had indicated time to get one more letter out.
Yeah, I'll send that tomorrow.
Yeah, please.
Just to kind of encourage people, because as everybody's pointed out, there's a lot of food that's sitting out there, and people, I don't know if people are just, quit for the year or what, but it's not going to survive, and we might as well harvest it now and donate it to someone who can use it. So I will send that out. And I know about the donation gardens. How many plots do we have in donation? Just the one?
Well, we have 2, right?
Oh, 1.
Well, one's the pollinated garden now.
Oh, right.
And then one's, so it's really 1.
I was going to suggest for next year that we think about having 2, if possible, just so that we have a good abundance of things that we can donate in addition to what individual gardeners donate.
Yeah.
And I would be happy to be involved with helping organize that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can actually, because I have a grow tent now, so there's some stuff I can grow ahead of time. If we know, and that's something we could talk about in the spring. We should probably start making a list of spring agendas.
Yeah,
but
I think we can do a better job with the donation gardens, and I'm not faulting anybody. I just think,
Yeah, no, it's just we transitioned. The people who were doing it left, and then we didn't really get it. And it was a pretty brutal summer, too, and
I wasn't
not even counting COVID.
I wasn't even sure who was in charge either. I was confused about that.
But, I can tell you now that I will grow these little pimento peppers. They're sweet peppers. I will grow plants to put in that donation garden because they're prolific. I mean, we will always have, from really the end of September on, we'll have peppers until the frost.
Can we make some kind of communication to gardeners who are returning or new gardeners that they should think, creatively about including some food for donation when they plant their gardens in the spring? It doesn't have to be a lot, but just to keep that in mind, that's one of the things that we value and we think is important for the community. What do you think?
I think that's great. Absolutely. People should be mindful from the outset that that's part of being part of a public garden, is that we serve the public too.
Right.
And that's the way we do it. So, Mark, I just want to point out, since I'm away now, we need someone to bring our collection on Monday morning. I
can probably do it, Stephen. What do you usually do? You empty the coolers into something else?
Yeah, so I left the ice packs in the coolers. So they need to be retrieved and kind of frozen. I don't know what the weather's there is like there now, but and then I put them. I wiped down the coolers, and I put the ice back in, and then on Monday morning I pick up the things that have been donated and pull the ice. I'm not certain I'm going to be back for the following Monday. I might or might not. I'll be in contact with you about that. Okay.
Okay. So do you transfer the produce from the coolers to some other container, or what do you?
We have boxes. There are boxes in the shed.
Okay.
And it should be enough for this delivery, and then you can pick up additional boxes at the community center.
Okay.
If we need them. We try to get all our stuff in by 9 o'clock there.
Yep.
There is some stuff still in the garden. They're either kind of like beets or turnips. It was hard to tell because they were kind of light purpley, but you'll see them along the edge there. Those can be plucked. They clearly weren't full grown, but you can look at them. Everything
That's in the donation garden?
Yes, the donation garden, yeah. Everything else is kind of like got frozen. The peppers and the tomatoes have pretty much gone.
Yeah.
The squash also seemed to have they started to grow, and then the plant kind of died, got frozen and died. So that was really.
Yeah, all the drought.
Our onions turned to scallions, and I know why now. Laura told me. You can look. Most of the herbs at this point have pretty much gone, so there's not much left.
Right.
Just maybe.
Yeah, it is what it is. We'll just.
Those beets.
I'll send a note out. Maybe that and whatever.
But if you get the letter out, Mark.
Yeah.
Then we might get some decent donations this time.
Yeah, I'll try to give a heartfelt message.
Yeah, you're good at that.
Please help us. Please help your neighbors.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. That's kind of nice.
And I think this idea, even for next year, this food insecurity isn't going to go away.
Right.
Even if we have vaccines and all of that, there's still going to be a whole bunch of people who are not back working, who are on the edge, and this is. Things will start to gear back up perhaps, but it's going to be a slow return.
Right.
And depending on the election, it could be quicker or slower. So.
Oh yeah, cross your.
But that's something that that we can already factor in for next year in terms of donation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it seems like we could really be planful about things that will give good yield. I keep thinking green beans are easy to grow, and boy, I think people will.
Yeah, no, you have to keep picking them, that's for sure.
That's right. And other things like turnips grow real easy, and winter squash, if we can remember to. I think remembering to water stuff is really important too.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a summer like this past summer.
That was an unusually dry one. It's still dry, even with that rain last night or night before.
Tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah. When I see it, I'll believe it.
Saturday night, cold again. If anybody needs to cover anything.
Yeah.
Whatever happens to mine now happens.
Well, Frank, as you pointed out, which I didn't realize, if it's like 36 up here, like in center of Easthampton, it can be really cold down in the garden and frost.
No, it's eight. Count on this. It's always 8 degrees colder there than at your house in Easthampton.
Wow.
I left my house to go cover stuff up, and just as an afterthought, I'm like, I'm gonna throw a flannel shirt on, and boy, I'm really glad I did. And I could see my breath. And at my house I couldn't, and I live a mile away. It's just crazy how that cold air sinks, especially there. And my tomato plants here at the house are still fine. They're still growing, and my tomato plants up there were killed. Second night, gone.
All my marigolds here are beautiful, and
yeah. No, it's you get in an urban area, and that's when you really understand what they talk about with the urban heating and all that. It's
your dry beans,
the roofs, everything.
Your dry beans are still okay, right, Frank?
Pardon me?
Your dry beans.
Oh no, they're fine. I mean, yeah, that's somebody actually took a couple of butternut squash out of my plot. I don't know.
Oops.
I hope they were hungry, but that's the thing with the beans. They'll look at those and they'll be like, whatever. And it's actually cold to me, because they're all dry, just shriveled up. But yeah, no, I didn't get a chance to go up and pick, because I have my turkey craw beans they're kind of, I like to let them cure, especially after the rain. I meant to get up there at the end of the day and just couldn't get up there to pick more. But
you got some carrots,
if you could see my basement, I have box tops full of beans drying all around me.
Wow.
I'd turn a dehumidifier off so it wouldn't make a bunch of noise.
Cool.
And that's something too, you need more space really to grow dry beans in terms of donation. But it's a nice thing to have, because it comes in, like this time of year, or even over the winter, you could still donate food because, you can leave them in the pods for over a year. It doesn't matter as long as it's dry.
So yeah, let's keep thinking about donation for the next year. That'll be great.
Yeah.
What's next, Stephen?
Well, that brings us actually to new business. Last time we had kind of like an ongoing new business, which was trying to, at that point, knowing that Laura had to cycle out of the treasurer's position, we took time to talk about, how we would, try to get, someone to replace. Any of it, that's now all moot. So you'll see in the minutes that I talked about that. So that was the new business. Is there any other new business item?
Well, just maybe on a work day, I was just up there this evening, and next to the shed, it's really a mess again. I thought, don't we have someone doing that as their volunteer job?
What was the mess, Margie? What was there that shouldn't have been?
It's just like, there's like a watering can that's taped on the bottom, a plastic jug, a pile of hoses, some tomato, those round tomato things. And I cleaned it up last year, but I thought we had someone who volunteered to do that this year. I don't remember. I lost touch with that whole aspect of who's doing what. Stella, were you doing that, or was that Mia before she left? That was Mia, wasn't it?
Yeah, I checked in with some folks about midway through the summer, but I don't know if anybody was specifically. I think that the folks who signed up for the shed thought it was just inside the shed. I don't think they knew that they needed to keep the outside shed part clean. So I think they actually ended up doing other. One person actually quit the garden, I think, and the other person ended up doing some donation garden weeding.
Maybe I'll send an email. And
Yeah.
if everybody needs community service credit, see if they want to clean up next to the shed.
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'm in no shape this year to do it.
No, you're not.
Any other new item?
I think the main thing for the big thing really is to just get the plots. People can start cleaning their plots up for winter and buttoning them up, and then we have to bring in the hoses and all that.
Yeah.
Speaking of hoses and all, were we going to replace some this year and maybe didn't get around to it because of the virus?
Yeah, it was really more replacing the nozzles than anything. And those are going to have to be cut off. So, we're going to have to get a PO with another, with a hardware store.
We want to do this in the spring, or what's
Yeah.
keep that on the agenda for the spring.
And I went into Manchester, all the hoses are gone.
Yeah.
Oh. Are they closed now? Are they done?
No, they're still open, man. They were 30% off. I went in there. It's just sad. I really like that hardware store.
That too.
So.
Nice having a local hardware store.
Yeah, especially one right downtown. So I don't know what it'll turn into. Well, I know that was the beginning of the end of the coolness in Northampton when their hardware store left the middle of town.
Yeah. Well, it happens everywhere. Speaking of which, I mean, it's premature perhaps at this point, but do you have any thoughts about another, once Manchester closes, where there's Overshone, but I don't know.
Oh, they would probably do something with us. I can't imagine why they wouldn't.
What about them?
And,
What about that feed store? Do they sell hardware?
That's something we can, I mean, you can, one thing I know at the feed store, if they don't have something, they will definitely order it for you. So, and, you know, they're going to give us a discount anyway. So that's another, that would probably be that would be my first, that'd be the first route I'd probably want to go, is to see, you know, especially if we give them an idea of what we want. And, you know, there's another thing with all these nozzles and stuff that we've been buying, like at Manchester and all, you know, I mean, this stuff is not, it's not durable. So, you know, this is maybe one of those things where we spend a little more money up front for something that's actually going to last a while.
You like hose?
The hoses are, they really, a lot of the hoses are, they're serviceable. The problem is getting the freaking nozzles off of them. And you can't, I mean, I've used Break Free, I've used all this different, you know, I've used like stuff that mechanics use, and it won't penetrate. I don't know what happened. And so I think maybe what we should do too is just use some of that white plumber's tape in the spring when we put the nozzles on, and wrap some of that on there.
Good
so
idea.
the stuff will actually come off.
Yeah.
Because the problem is we get these nozzles that are kind of cheap, then they break, and then you can't get them off the hose, and the hose is fine. It's the freaking nozzle that's the problem, and then you got to cut that off. And once you, I mean, you can buy a male end and put it on there, but it's never going to be the same hose. It's always going to leak, or it's always going to be a problem.
Maybe we can do an inventory in the spring for things we need. Because I'm looking at all this money, this almost $5,000. I'm saying, aren't there things we need? I mean, rather than just letting the money.
No, we got the money to buy that stuff, you know. And
Well, there are other things, I don't know. Things we need for the shed. I mean, I don't know.
Wheelbarrow, another wheel. Is there a wheelbarrow in the shed? Because I tried, there was one near the wood chips, and I didn't realize that the wheel was broken.
yeah, we could buy a new wheelbarrow.
How many are there? Because there's one good one next to the shed, but I haven't been in the shed all summer.
There's another smaller one in the shed that's okay, and then there's one with two. There's one with two wheels in the shed that's a total pain in the butt.
We have to get rid of the one in the back of the shed. I put it in the back because I had it all filled with chips, and I started going down the hill, and the whole thing
And then it went.
tipped over.
Oh, geez.
It was a challenge.
And then we have the good one. We have that good one outside the shed that we don't know where it came from.
It's heavy.
It's an awesome wheelbarrow. I look for those in tag sales, man, because they don't make them like that anymore. Yeah, we don't know where that came from. That's why it didn't go inside the shed. Stephen, there was some legal term for that.
What?
Yeah, remember? We were like, oh, well, we don't know where it came from. It's not property or something like that.
Well, if we hold it as ours, but hostily for 20 years, we get adverse possession.
What do you call it?
Adverse possession.
Adverse possession?
Adverse possession, yes.
For legal advice for the day.
And it only takes 20 years.
Only 20 years. Some of you will still be around in 20 years.
I will be.
So anyhow,
one other thing I know, and this is just because I'm going through the season in my head now. All right, we do end of the year cleanup. We need to get a hold of Broadbrook because they're going to have to flush the system, and we got to get a hold of DPW to get the water turned off.
correct. Yeah.
So when do they typically turn the water off?
Really, now that almost everything is dead, I get, there's still a lot of kale, but
I have broccoli too and beets.
yeah, but with this type of rain coming now and as cool as it's getting, stuff's not going to dry out like it did before either. So yeah, we could probably they usually will turn it off by the end of the month.
Yeah. I'll-
No, go ahead, Stephen.
No, I was going to say, I'll contact them.
Okay. And they'll tell you, they'll probably give you a range of days when they'll do it. So all of a sudden it'll just be off.
Yeah. Okay, I'll check in with them.
Can we agree to plan on ordering compost early in the spring? We kind of managed to get it this year, but it was kind of on our own rather than working through the town paying it. I'm happy to work with that again, but I just think it's important to not let it.
Yeah, Mark, we can organize that right on, but I mean, I think we still want to pay it the way we've done it because they want cash, upon delivery. They want it COD. And the city.
Well, that's with the people that we got it from before, right?
Yeah, and I just think that that's the better way to do it. It's very simple. We can collect at the very outset, and we have, frankly, we have money in petty cash that will help, with some of it. So we should be able to do it at the very beginning, and this time we'll get a much bigger load.
So you think get like 10 cubic yards instead of 5?
Yeah.
Okay. And who do you want to get it from? From the group that we had last year?
I like what we got this year, but
Okay.
there are options.
4 seasons.
Yeah, 4 seasons. Yeah. So but in any event, we just tell people who want to participate, but we should get more than we got this.
How long does it take to get a purchase order through the city? Is it like a month?
But the point is that they're unlikely willing to want to be billed, and so I'm just trying to relieve. This is something because different gardeners participate in this. This is not like buying a rake where it's on everyone. So that's why I don't want to do it through the city, Mark. Because
you don't want to do it.
No. Because first of all, it puts more work on our treasurer, and second of all, people participate differently. Some people want it, and there's some people who don't. So it's more appropriate to do it through our cash, this cash.
So we can go ahead and spend our own cash. We don't have to submit
that's right.
a purchase order.
Because we're doing a group buy. That's what it is.
Okay. And so where does the cash actually come from? From our account?
No, the cash comes from people.
No, they pay. They just pay.
They donate. If you want it, you pay for it.
It's
So
a
like
pay
we
as you
did it
go,
last
pay as you
year.
go.
Then we just have to have a deadline. Basically says if you get us the money by this time, then you're in. If not,
Yeah,
we can help you because we got to keep moving.
exactly.
So I think if I'm understanding this correctly, what you're asking for, Mark, is that it happens a little earlier next year.
Well, it happened, Nicole. Actually, we did pretty well because Stephen and I kind of worked it, and I just said I would basically personally bankroll for 5 yards, and then people would just the money that came back, I would get it to reimburse, and it balanced out. It worked fine for the 5 yards that we got, but it sounds like Stephen feels like, and maybe others feel that we need a bit more. So my goal has always been have it available by May 1st. May 1st, because some people want to plant their gardens by May 1st, and you want to have your compost, you can put it right into your soil.
So I want to ask a follow-up question, if I may. So I understand that the registration is kind of dependent on the city's timeline, or is that our timeline? Like registration for the plots themselves.
Right. That's our timeline, really, Nicole. I mean, the city collects it on our behalf, but we can authorize them to begin collecting at any time.
Oh, sure.
Okay, would it make sense to, if people ask people if they would like to purchase compost at the same time they're registering, even if that needs to be a separate payment system?
Yes.
So that the money for compost is gathered at the same time?
I think that's what we did last year, or this past year, right?
Yeah, we kind of did. Not as comprehensively as we would like, Stella, but you're right. I mean, ideally, we inform people so that they paid their fee to the city through the city clerk's office, and then they'll come to our, what used to be our, kind of kickoff, right? And say, this is how much, I want, whatever we get it. And then as Mark was saying, We certainly want to endeavor to get that load before May 1st because people want to start their gardens.
Right. I know that personally I missed it this year because I received the email that money was going to be collected at the garden site. It wasn't during kickoff that I got that. It was later. And I missed it because the emails that I don't check my email. I don't have it on my phone personally. So I don't, get an email the second it gets out.
I want to say something though. We bear in mind that this year, the beginning of garden season coincided with the beginning of the pandemic. And everything was really screwed up. Like all of a sudden, the city hall was closed. And we were scrambling. If you remember, we were scrambling to get things done and to figure things out, as was so many people, which is one of the reasons the compost was so late.
Yeah. Well, it ended up, we got it, but to Nicole's point, I mean, we needed to get, we did have a day set aside where people got their plot, for those newcomers, they got to select their plots. And at the same time, we were there to collect monies for the compost. But I think what you're saying, Nicole, is that we could have got word out earlier on that so people were more prepared.
I know that for me, I did purchase compost my first year and didn't get everything I purchased. I don't know why. I purchased a lot of compost. I recorded it. I think I ended up getting 12 of my 40 cubic yards.
Oh my God. That's
and I prepaid for that. And it didn't bring it up at the time because I was like, well, the compost is gone. And I knew that it was a collection-based system and there was nothing to be done about that.
Yeah.
Some people did not know that we had to pay for it. I heard talk saying,
right.
Oh, look, there's compost.
Right. So
and I was quite a scramble, which is why you lost out.
Right. So my point is that if we ask for compost money at the same time that people are paying their registration for the plot money,
right,
then we would have a good sense of who wants to get compost right out of the gate.
Right, I agree.
But like Stella, you said, didn't we do that?
I guess only for me because we were new gardeners, so we on our day where we chose our plot, we paid our fee and we paid for our compost at the same time. But if you were a returning gardener, I guess not.
Yeah, for me as a returning gardener, I got the email that the money was going to be collected for the compost very shortly before the actual collection, and due to time conflict, couldn't actually make it to pay for compost that particular day.
But you actually point out another problem though, Nicole, which is, and I don't know the answer to this. So we get a delivery, right? And then, people kind of start to get it. But what happens is that the longer it sits there, the more, frankly, non-participants who see it just kind of
help themselves.
So the folks who would come in and like 2 or 3 weeks later saying, oh, I put in for the compost and and they're 2 weeks post-delivery, then they typically wouldn't get what they had put in for because it was no longer there.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm open to suggestion about how to do that.
Yeah, we can think about it.
Well, you know how they do it in the Northampton garden? They get a big pile of compost one day, and if you want compost, you have to come with money and with a bucket on that day, so that all the compost goes on the same day that it arrives. You don't just go and get it. There's no honor system because there's no honor. Well, there is.
Say it.
Well, this is the Trump era. Yeah.
Some people don't care and some people don't know. Like, I don't have a smartphone. I don't check my emails daily. I check my emails when I'm at work and I have to go online and do my emails. So there's some gardeners I know of who asked me to call them because they don't have email. And I said, I'll try, but I can't, don't hold me to that.
Yeah.
So we need to do something like we're getting compost on May 1st. If you want compost, come with your however much money, and you can order it beforehand. And I don't even think, yeah, I think they order it. They have an ordering system. Everybody orders how many buckets. They do it with buckets, not wheelbarrows. They want, if you want 5 buckets, you come on the day that it's delivered with your money for 5 buckets and your buckets, and you take it.
Right.
You take the wheelbarrow, and then people know this is not just free compost that everyone can use. In the Northampton Garden, there's 2 big composts, and somebody turns it, and you can go and get that compost for free. But the stuff that's ordered, it's very systematic.
So what I'm asking for is for the consideration of the committee for returning gardeners who get their plot applications first, to include a line saying, would you like to purchase compost?
Yes.
As part of the registration form. And that same question could be put out for new gardeners as well. We outline the cost, because what I'm understanding is this is a cash on delivery system, and we need to raise that money before we place the order.
Ah, great. I
Right.
like it.
Yeah, but if they put that money in through the city, then it goes into our account, correct?
Yeah, they're not, right, it doesn't, you can't do it.
Yeah, we can't,
We don't have to have them write a check for both.
But can we lay out money, like after we get the order, can we pay from the account with the city and then reimburse them after we get money from the garden?
But Margie, that's only if they're first, if the provider is willing to be invoiced by the city for it, and they have to be approved, and none of these people want that. So we don't put those people out.
I mean, Bear Path did, to their credit, but we didn't pay them.
Yeah, that's no good. We don't want to do that, okay?
We don't, and we need to pay them still too.
We can we can front monies from petty cash, okay? And then have the participating gardeners come with their money, and we put it back into petty cash. We can do that.
Is there enough petty cash to do that?
I don't think there is.
No. Another option could be to have people who are planning on returning next year send out a pre-registration for returning gardeners this fall and ask them if they would like to pay their plot fee and for compost next year this fall.
Yeah, that's what the CSAs are doing. They're signing up for next year.
I mean, if the concern is that we need the cash before the order is placed, and if the timeline is too short for us to try and collect it next year, and if there's a concern about the revenue stream taking too long to go through the city. And I hear what you're saying about nobody who's a company wants to be invoiced by the city. So if we want to keep the petty cash for compost separate, we could ask them this fall if they would like to prepay for their plot and their petty cash and keep those revenue streams separate, so that the check for the plot goes in one direction and cash for the compost goes in another.
Right.
I'm just throwing out ideas.
No. You're right, Nicole. We got to figure this out a little better than we've done.
I mean, we don't have to figure all this out tonight, but we need to start wrapping our heads around this.
No, but this is that's why I want to throw out the idea now, not to come to a resolution tonight, but to put it on the new business.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think we have to keep on top of this. Otherwise, it keeps getting postponed, and all of a sudden it's, April, May. So let's come to, within the foreseeable future, come to some decision on how we're going to handle that. I'd recommend.
Yeah, and again, well, we'll see. This whole COVID thing was interesting because everybody started freaking out and they were going to, till their yard up and plant food. And so we'll see how gung-ho everybody is next spring as opposed to this spring. But I don't even want to project and what the hell things could be like, 6 or 7 months from now.
I think you're right in saying that we need to think about food security moving forward.
Oh, that most definitely. This is going to be a slow recovery.
How do we get our petty cash? Where does that come from?
In an envelope that's still in Laura's possession. And it's, my understanding is it's primarily key deposits.
It was
and then
key
nobody
deposits, yeah.
picks up their turns in their key at the end if they decide not to come back.
Okay, so it's not like we can access that from our account. That's
And the
just-
night, oh no, that is a whole separate thing. So, and that was nice. It was nice to have that too, just to go buy gas for the mower and stuff like that.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot to have $5,000 sitting around. I don't know. I'm just
It's 4. It's not 5.
4,900.
Yeah,
Just
4,900, Frank.
it was 4,900.
Yeah.
$1,964.90.
Oh, Stephen knows.
I must
Marty-
have missed it. I must have thought the 9 was a 0.
Nicole, you're saying no. You're muted. You're muted.
I know petty cash is $200.
Right.
200? Okay.
Oh, I wish the petty cash was 4,900.
But our account is 4,900. That's what I'm
But we
getting at.
cannot rely on the account for purchasing compost because nobody wants to be invoiced.
I understand
Well,
that.
it's not that we don't know that. I mean, people probably prefer not to be.
Because what? Why is that?
Well, why we did that? Because we don't.
Look, I've had people work on my house and stuff before, and if I can pay them in cash, it's cheaper.
So it's a matter of wanting cash. not wanting
And
it.
I get the work gets done before somebody else. Like we have a guy who did part of our driveway with huge flagstones and Goshen stone, and we want to finish it, and people are stiffing him on jobs that he's on right now, and he's like, I'll be there next week because we pay.
Those
Exa-
are independent contractors?
Pardon me?
Are those independent contractors?
Yes.
Yeah, well, that's different than companies.
No, yeah, but these composters, the people we got the compost from, they're not, Mark, they're not really a company, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well,
They're
I
They're
mean,
a small company. Yeah. they're
yeah,
small.
you know, I mean, but they'll work with you. I mean, it's like we got compost from Fletcher Farm out in Southampton before, and we just used cash with them. We didn't do a PO,
Well, is the city slow to pay its bills? Let me ask that.
and that is true as well.
That could be the issue then for anybody is,
But I mean,
Okay.
let's face it, there were issues. I mean, I'm sorry. There were issues too with those invoices not being put in by our previous treasurer too. So,
Yeah.
well, two treasurers back now, not Laura.
well, that's not
And
going
then
to
Laura
happen.
tried, and then yeah, there was.
I got like 4 emails. We got like 4 or 5 emails from Bear Path, it's called, was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bear Path.
Asking us to pay. And am I understanding that we still haven't paid them?
That would be correct.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Nicole's going to take care of that. We're so glad.
Yeah, because they're cool people too. You know.
Yeah, you don't want to screw local merchants. That's crazy. That's nuts.
No, we don't want our town getting a bad reputation.
Maybe I should send them an email and tell them that we finally have a treasurer, and we've been, because of COVID, we've been rather messed up. So now we're getting it all together because we finally have a treasurer. It's such a relief to have you, Nicole.
It is great. But Margie, we just apologize, and whether they believe it or not, it is our goal to get this completed in this calendar year. Now, we apologize deeply for that, but we don't have to get into COVID and everything else because it's not totally true.
No, this should have been done. This should have been done before COVID.
There's
Ever hit.
no COVID. There's
Yeah,
no
it's not a COVID thing. It was the problem before this.
In all honesty, so.
Yeah, and there's not going to point.
It is what
They
it
know
is.
it, and they know it too, so let's not keep them alive.
Okay, so I'm just going to send an email apologizing and telling them that we're back on it. We've
Please.
resolved
Yes,
barriers.
yes, Nicole,
Please feel free to CC me on any emails you
Yes.
send out regarding invoices.
yes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other new business? Well, okay, we know the tasks ahead of us here, which are somewhat formidable, but Well, let's look at it this way. We managed, despite the pandemic kind of coming at the beginning, we did manage to have a garden year. So
We did.
A good one, a really
Yeah,
good.
you know, it was,
so I think we should take some pride in that.
A bunch of new people on the committee. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
yeah.
Ella and Nicole.
Stella?
And Danny and Stella. So yeah, a good year, but we've got our work cut out ahead. And
Okay.
some rough times between. Okay.
We have some time.
Yeah, so we got one more, we have one more business meeting next month
Yeah.
with the goal, let's see if we can put a wrap, everything that we've discussed, and so feel like we're set to go for the following year. We've cleaned up this year, and at that point in time, we just, what happens in the wintertime is just, trying to do outreach to get enough potential gardeners so that we can launch, well in the spring, and get people to, pay their fees and figure out we can just figure out another way to collect monies for the compost. Look, they can do it. It just gets confusing to them because they're making out one payment to the city and the other payment's going in a different direction. So, but for my part, I'm happy to direct people about either, depending upon whether there's any in-person at that point in time or some safe way of doing it where people can direct our monies. We'll tuck it into our cash account and just be ready to have enough there so that we can get some compost and garden stuff ready to go for the beginning of that next garden year.
When's our first meeting in 2021, Stephen?
Probably March.
March?
So let's see how much business we can get done between now and first, it would be the 5th of November is the first Thursday. And see where we're at.
Great.
Sounds good.
How's sunny Florida?
It's South Carolina, but it is
South
sunny.
Carolina, I meant.
It is sunny. I'm just thankful that there's no hurricane right now, so we'll see. I shouldn't say that because there you go.
I lived south of there in Beaufort, and when I was a kid, and we had a Thanksgiving tropical storm. So
Yeah.
they will come that late sometimes.
Absolutely, no question about it.
Yeah.
We're in the heyday. So I'll tell folks when I'm back. But anyway, so I'm going to mark us as adjourned
Okay.
at 8:27, and that's everything. Next time.
Thank you.
Okay,
Later,
Hey, y'all.
everybody.
Have a good night. Be safe.
Bye.
everyone.
Week.